In your wanderings, you stumble upon a ruined temple buried deep within the heart of the forest. Wary, you continue on through thick overgrowth until you see a clearing that was once an ancient cathedral built by people, now rebuilt by nature itself. In the center is a preserved altar, stacked with various dice of all shapes and colors. As you contemplate what this means, a cloaked figure approaches from the shadows.
Welcome, brave adventurer. Have you come to roll the dice? Explore strange new worlds with new strange rules? If you seek adventure worthy of being shared with good friends, you have come to the right place. Just roll for initiative.
Welcome to the Nat One Nerds podcast. Welcome to the table, everyone. This is Nat One Nerds with an extra episode in our usual exploration arc. As you may know, we're currently exploring the One Ring tabletop role-playing game by Free League Publishing, which takes place in the wonderful world of Middle-earth. I am your host, Parker, and today I am with my wonderful wife, Savannah.
Hi, guys.
So in this little extra episode, to help better prepare for our actual play, I'm going to be talking about a little bit of the history of the region of Eriador, which is the area of Middle-earth that the One Ring system strongly encourages you to play in and bases all their lore and mechanics around that area. So if you've seen The Lord of the Rings at all, you know areas like Gondor, Rohan, Isengard, Mordor, Mirkwood from The Hobbit. But the only place that most fans of Lord of the Rings or casual fans of Lord of the Rings would know about in Eriador is the Shire. And the Shire is kind of roughly-ish in the middle of that region of Middle-earth, which is from the Blue Mountains in the west all the way to the Misty Mountains where Rivendell and Moria kind of are. In that region of Middle-earth, it is vastly covered in ruins. Because while Aragorn from the movies and the books and the trilogy is the heir to the throne of Gondor, he is actually not descended from the kings of Gondor, but rather comes through a different lineage and line that still traces back to Elendil and Isildur, who were both kings of Gondor, but also kings of a kingdom in the north called Arnor. And Arnor gets brought up quite a bit in the One Ring core rulebook. And all you really need to know is that Arnor was very similar to Gondor. It was a kingdom of men. It eventually split into three regions, Arthedain, Cardolan, and Rudar. Rudar fell first to the influence of the Shadow, and then eventually overcame Cardolan and as well as Arthedain. So in the system, you'll come across cities like Fornost, the Barrow Downs, Rudar, the old witch kingdom of Angmar, stuff like that. And that's all related to the history of Arnor. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. It's definitely heavily has a history all of its own. Tolkien was very much interested in making sure that his world was very fleshed out, not only with full-blown languages, but also cultures, regions, history, geography, very fleshed out. But I just kind of wanted to explain the history of Eriador a little bit. Now, Eriador also has other races, as we kind of mentioned. The dwarves of Durin's folk have colonies in Eriador in the Blue Mountains. There are elves of Lindon, which is a little area just west of the Blue Mountains that's involved in Eriador. The Shire, where hobbits are from, is in Eriador. And then, of course, the town of Bree is perhaps the main settlement of men still populated in Eriador. And then you also have other places and other ruins and other places of history and notes. It's a whole history, and all you really need to understand is that in Eriador, alongside Gondor, was a kingdom called Arnor Arnor, unfortunately, was the kingdom that truly fell into complete ruin. And its people, what remained of its people, which was very, very small, are what became the Dunedain, or the Rangers of the North. Essentially what Aragorn is.
Is he?
Yes. And Savannah's character is a Ranger of the North, or one of the Dunedain Rangers. And essentially her character is a descendant of the few survivors of Arnor. You have a noble heritage, but unfortunately that heritage is in complete ruin all around you. You and your people have dedicated themselves to protecting the few inhabitants of the land that remain from any evils that may come along. So orc raids, bandits, raiders, and potential regrowing threats in the old witch kingdom of Angmar. A forsaken evil kingdom that may or may not be rebuilding itself, depending on how you fully want to play the system. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't know. Like, I kind of tried to base my character around Eriador a little bit. Just a little.
Just a little bit?
A little.
But does that kind of make sense, roughly?
Yeah.
So, and this is something we'll mention in our Game Master episode later on, but one thing that the Lore Master should be aware of when playing this system is either already having a pretty heavy knowledge of the Lord of the Rings and other Tolkien-esque works to really help flesh out potential storylines, be able to describe things in detail and whatnot. However, I do want it to be clear that the book, from what I've been reading so far, does a really good job of giving you the rundown of the area, so that even if you're not super into Lord of the Rings or Middle-earth, but want to give this a try and really play it, you can be the lore master and get all the information you need to tell a good story just based off this book, if you take the time to read up on the lore a little bit. So do you need to read the Lord of the Rings? Do you need to read the Silmarillion? Do you need to read other things from Tolkien to play the system? No. Does it help? Yes. So, Savannah, you have watched the Lord of the Rings extended editions with me twice now, fully?
Yeah.
All the way through?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any questions about the history of Eriador or Arnor, that ancient kingdom, or the Dunedain Rangers at all?
No. I feel like part of it is, like, you just have to play it to understand it.
And that's always fair, and that's really true with any system if you think about it. You just
Yeah.
have to play it to kind of learn it. So, because
I feel like you also learn more the history of the world and stuff like that as you play it. So, like, yeah, I know what Lord of the Rings is, but I am not, like, as knowledgeable, like, about it. I think just having, like, even a small piece of it will help playing.
Yeah.
Visual learners here.
Well, being a player is always the easiest position in trying out a new system, right? You don't have to read up as much or whatever, and you just kind of trust your game master or lore master to be able to weave that story for you and help you understand that you can help tell the story along with them and collaborate that way.
Yeah. And, like, if I, as a player, try to do something that's, like, not like a characteristic of the setting, I guess, then it's, like, up to whoever's the game master to be like, no.
Yeah.
No? Like, that's a cool idea, but how about this instead, and present it in a way that, like, use your idea, just adjust it to the correct area. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think you're really getting at that a good table and a good gaming session is when everybody's contributing to the story, not just the game master or lore master.
It's not just like players suggest something that doesn't necessarily fit. It's not no, you can't do that. It's like I like that idea, but to help it fit the story, what if we did this instead?
It's kind of that yes and principle from improv.
Yeah.
And that's an important principle for any TTRPG system that you might be playing with your friends at the table, is that yes and, which encourages people to express ideas, and it's the game master or lore master's job to be able to take that and be like, yes, and this, and tie it into the story.
Yeah.
But now that we know a little bit about the history of Eriador, we know that Savannah's character, as she just said, confirms that she is still playing a Dunedain Ranger. Why don't you go ahead and give a little basic background on your Dunedain Ranger, Geniveve?
Yeah. So her name's Geniveve, and she followed in her father's footsteps of joining the Rangers. So, like, she was raised around hearing the stories about, like, her father going to war or, whatever assignment he was on. because she's got a kind of like a super. I don't know if you call it like a high score, but like she's got a lot of lore to her.
Yeah, I believe your lore score allows you to not only roll the feat die, which is the D12, but you can roll an additional 4d6 on top of that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So, she just has heard a lot of stories about it, and eventually, that mixed in with, her being bold and true-hearted has, like, led her kind of to the same place that her father was in as, like, captain of a company or unit of, like, rangers.
Yeah. Yeah, you're essentially a trusted leader among the Rangers.
Yeah.
Just like your father was.
Yeah. She's also 87.
87, which is the same age that Aragorn was in The Lord of the Rings.
I was like, young? Old? I don't know. I think that's why I picked 87.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. The Dunedain live long lives. Aragorn lived to be, I believe, over 200 years old in the end. Well, anyway, as we said, we just wanted to do a little quick bonus episode to help give you guys just a tad more context to what area of Middle-earth that we'll be exploring in. We really appreciate you guys listening. If you like what you're hearing so far and like what we're doing overall, please give us a 5-star rating on the podcaster of your choice, like Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It helps us so much. It lets us know that what we're doing is helpful, entertaining, or just general useful, helpful knowledge in your TTRPG sessions, because that's what we aim for, is to help you guys do that. If you're not already, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We're also just on Threads. We're kind of getting a feel for Threads and how best to utilize that, but we are on Threads, so if you really prefer that platform, you can definitely follow us there. But we're currently more active on Instagram and Facebook, so you can follow us on any of those 3 platforms. This is Nat One Nerds signing out. Happy rolling.